Hello, everybody. Welcome back to 10 Man Collections. And today, I'll be reading another book for you guys today. This time, it's going to be Bigfoot Vol.1 Terror Tales right here. And it's edited by Eric S. Brown and A.P. Fuchs. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but anyway, it's a bunch of Bigfoot stories compiled into one book, but it's different people that wrote it. So this one is Small Town, Big Trouble by David Bernstein. Alright, here we go. Hank drove down Mott Street, an area of Seattle, Washington, where one could travel to elicit the services of a woman of the night. He hated the city with its overcrowdedness, noise, and putrid odors, but it was part of his duty, his oath. Still, the task away made his stomach turn, no matter how many times he performed it. He loved his small town of Fairhaven and the people in it, especially his immediate family, a wife and 3 children. They were his world, and there wasn't anything he wouldn't do to protect them. And that's what he was in Seattle picking up a prostitute. Hello, darling. Sounded like something Conway Twitty was saying, but anyway. He said after rolling down the window of his Chevy Malibu, the scantily dressed vixen strolled over to the car, leaned into it. It wasn't that he hated or even despised this poor souls of the night. No, but they were the easiest people to acquire without incident. And when they went missing, very few were looked for. Most were runaways or drug addicts coming from broken homes. They were the ghost of the small town innocents, now lost and forgotten. You a police officer? Hank asked softly. Do you smell bacon? The woman responded. Please just answer the question. No, I'm not a cop. The woman lifted her top up, exposing her large breast. Good enough, she asked. Hank nodded, closing his eyes as he did so. He wasn't so tired of the routine. He felt bad for the women in general, especially the ones he took. People live hard lives, but prostitutes, if they lasted long enough, became like flavorless gum, chewed up and discarded. Now, you said you would do anything to protect your wife and children, and yet you're going out to... Don't you just hate people like that? Anyway, hop in, he told her, trying to sound upbeat and not wanting to scare him off, or her off. Don't you want to know my rates? No, I want it all, and I'll pay whatever you ask. The woman's eyes lit up with a huge gleaming grin. She opened the car door and got in. Hank drove to a remote warehouse area down by the river, the same place he took all the prostitutes. Glancing around, the surrounding area seemed clear. He shut off the car's engine. Where you want to get in on, sugar? She asked. Right here. He produced a handgun from the side of his chair. He pointed it at her and pulled the trigger. The weapon hardly made a sound. The woman's eyes went wide with panic as she turned, fumbling for the door handle. But the tranquilizer in the dart that was lodged in her neck worked quickly. Her eyes began to droop, her movements slowly until she felt unconscious. As Hank popped the trunk, got out of the car, and walked over to the passenger side, he scooped her up, carried her to the trunk, and gently laid her down. He didn't care about this woman. He wanted to kill them or get rid of them or something. But anyway, Crystal awoke sometime later. Her head throbbed and her throat was dry, as if she'd been snacking on sand-coated crackers. Ew. What the hell happened? The last thing she remembered was a gun. Someone had shot her. Opening her eyes, she saw she was in a small clearing. A dense woodland area stood before her, illuminated only by the glow of the full moon. She tried moving her mind, confused, unfocused, but couldn't. Looking down at herself, she noticed she was tied in place to something, some kind of wooden post. She yelled for help. Her cries died in the black void beyond the trees. Do you have any family? A male voice asked. Crystal's heart leaped with a mixture of joy and fright. "Who's there?" she asked, straining against the ropes. "There isn't a lot of time, so please answer my question. Who are you? Show yourself." When nothing happened, she asked, "What do you want with me?" Only the answer to my question. Yes, I have family, a mother, father, and a baby brother that care about me." The realization of her predicament was hitting her harder. Tears welled in her eyes. She wanted to remain strong, not allowing the freak any satisfaction. But she couldn't help it. She was terrified. "Give me their mailing address." Really? She froze. Was this guy going to send her parents a ransom letter? Why? So I could send them your money. Money? What money? I don't have any money. You have $100 in your purse. Add the $200 I'm going to give you. That will make $300. Crystal was speechless. What was this guy's name? She's been scared out of her mind, thinking maybe he was going to kill her or torture her or both. But he planned on paying her, wanted to send the money to her parents. "You're not going to kill me?" she asked, a hint of hope in her voice. "No, I'm not going to kill you." Relief, like popping an annex, flooded her system. Had she just heard right? Was this guy just screwing with her, trying to teach her a lesson and get her parents involved? "Then why are you tying me up like I'm some Joan of Arc? Is this how you get off? Because if that's the case, you didn't need to drug me." A hot kernel of anger grew in the pit of her stomach. "I would have done it free of charge." "Give me your parents' address, please." There was an unease in the man's voice. He was almost pleading with her. "Look, you've had your fun. Now let me go. I can't do that. What's your deal, huh? You're not going to kill me, so..." A loud, animalistic roar erupted from the forest, silencing her mid-sentence. She said, "What the hell was that?" "I'll be too if I heard a roar in the woods, but anyway." He said, "Screw you," she yelled, "and to the hell with my family. My dad was a loser and my mom was a junkie." Another roar, nearer this time, came from the forest. Crystal screeched, "Is that a bear?" "No." She began sobbing, her chest aching as her heart thumped like the piston of an overworked diesel engine. "You got to untie me, please, mister. I'm deeply sorry, but I can't. I have to be going now." "No, wait. Your money will be put to good use. Don't leave me." A thunderous crashing sound of broken tree limbs and kicked up forest debris filled her ears. Something big was headed in her direction. Yeah, Bigfoot coming for your rescue, probably, I hope. Looking around, she saw no food in sight. Was it that what attracted animals, especially bears? The commotion grew louder as the thing neared. Maybe if she played dead, because that's what the people were supposed to do when confronted by a bear. The animal would leave her alone, closing her eyes. Crystal let her body go limp. The ropes holding her upright, the crashing sounds abruptly ended as the creature stepped into the clearing. A putrid odor like wet dog and rotten fish filled her nostrils. She tried to remain still, had wanted to so badly, but the odor was too much. She coughed, barely breathing through her mouth to avoid the stench, and felt bile wanted to rise up into her throat. She kept her eyes closed, not wishing to see the animal. A low, bass-filled growl came forth, followed by a dead fish-like aroma. She opened her eyes. Immediately, it felt like someone slapped her in the chest. She couldn't scream if she wanted to. Crouching before her was a hairy, man-like beast. Its red, beady eyes, set deep within its skull, were filled with a malevolence she had never seen before. She was frozen with fear and caught in the thing's stare, like the victim of a vampire. Finally, she opened her mouth and managed a small scream, then a louder one, until finally her shrill shriek echoed around her. The creature stood up, standing over 6 feet tall, and bellowed a roar. Its mouth was lined with jagged teeth that looked like they could chew steel. Yeah, this one sounded like a monster-type Bigfoot, but anyway. But it was the 6-inch canines that caused her bladder to let loose. Saliva spilled from its mouth. She continued to scream. In a blink of an eye, the beast swung its hairy arm, and her point of view switched from looking at the thing's waist to the world suddenly flipping onto its side, staring at the beast's hairy feet. Blood rained down from somewhere above her, a slurpy sound, a realization that nothing. Hank sat in his truck listening as the woman's screams went silent. Shaking his head, he closed his eyes and prayed. For generations, his 300 families had been feeding the beast. You're feeding this animal, humans? Oh. As long as it received one human sacrifice a month, the town would be spared. It was a grueling, hard-to-swallow duty, but a necessary one nonetheless. Using his cell phone, he called his best friend Joel. "It's done," he said, then quickly hung up. He dialed the third member of a Bigfoot family. As it was called. "It's done," he told Parade before hanging up. There was no need to say anything else to either man. The legend dated back over 150 years. It was said that a disgruntled medicine man, that had lost his land to the bank, placed a curse on the town. Once a month, a human sacrifice was made in the forest to a bloodthirsty beast. Some believed the creature was the medicine man himself, that he had made a deal with a demon to be transformed into a Sasquatch, a half-man, half-beast with a taste of human flesh. Shortly after the man's proclamation that the town would fall, he disappeared into the Cascade Mountains, never to be heard from again. No one took his threat seriously, and the town went on as normal until the bodies started piling up. Well, then you should take his threat seriously when you see bodies piling up. Night after night, townspeople were slaughtered, their bodies stripped of flesh, leaving nothing but gristle and bone. Hunting parties were dispatched to the surrounding forest, finding nothing but oversized humanoid footprints. Word spread fast of the medicine man's curse, and a town meeting was called. After heated deliberation, the Bigfoot families were established. It was the charge and responsibility of these three families to make sure the beast was appeased and the town kept safe. It was originally thought to be a temporary position for the three families, maybe last in a generation or two. The beast would eventually grow old and die. Well, how long would that be, I wonder? Good Lordy. 150 years later, and the creature still roamed. The Bigfoot families haven't had to pass on the responsibility to new generations. Hank waited an hour inside his pickup, giving the beast time to enjoy its meal before it returned to wherever it went. He trekked back to the killing ground to clean up the remains of the severed head and bury the bones. 3 weeks later, a week before another sacrifice was to be made, Joel called Hank on the cell phone. "What's up, buddy?" Hank asked, sitting in his warm recliner with a bottle of Labatt Blue in his hand. "I can't do this anymore," Joel said, his voice cracking something awful, like a kid hitting puberty. "Do what?" "Go on with the family business. My son's almost of age to know the truth and be brought into our little group. I can't. I won't pass this on to him, Hank. I won't." "Calm down," Hank, sitting up in his chair and sitting his beard down. He reached for a pack of smokes, pulled one out. "Hank, hang on a sec." Placing the cigarette between his lips, he lit the smoke and took a long pull, inhaling the sweet tobacco deep into his lungs. He held his breath for a moment, then exhaled, satisfied. "Hank, I'm serious." "I know," Hank responded quietly. "I think I'm done too." "What, really?" There were both a hint of relief and surprise in Joel's voice. Hank took another deep draw from his cigarette, exhaling as the smoke. "Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a while now. I'm glad you called." "Oh, Hank, you have no idea how relieved I am to hear it. But what are we going to do? Tell Pete?" "No, absolutely not," Hank said firm. Pete Jorgen was a cowboy, a hot dog who had no qualms about the family business. He would never go along with them and would most likely cause a ruckus with the townspeople. And who knew what the town would do to his and Joel's family? No, this would have to stay between himself and Joel. We can't tell anyone, Hank said. Not a soul. Not even your wife. You understand? What happens if this gets out? Yeah, but what are we supposed to do? Leave town and let Pete recruit 2 more families to replace ours? No, I want out. But not at the cost of the townfolk. If we just up and left and anything happened to Pete, the town would be at the mercy of the beast. So what then? Hank took another drag off his smoke, then said, we kill it. What? Are you nuts? It's our only option. Well, my only option. I want run and leave the town to suffer. Okay, Joel said. His voice sounded a little calmer. You're right, but it's been tried before and only to fail. Lives were lost. My great-granddaddy lost his wife and eldest son to that creature. Things are better now, Hank said reassuringly. Technology is better. Weapons are better. I've been working on a plan. Have been for some time. Should the need arise to kill it, it's risky, of course, but we have to take it. He paused, taking the last drag on the smoke, before extinguishing it into his near-empty beer bottle. He waited for Joel's reply, and when none came, he asked, are you with me? Yes, Hank, I'm with you. Okay, I think I'm going to call it there. There's like a little bit left on this page, and then next page will be a little bit more. So stay tuned for part 2, and don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.